Oh, Kathleen Kennedy, you just don't get it.
New Star Wars movie release dates won't be yearly, they'll be events. How you guys doing? Happy May 4th. I hope you're all having a great day today, especially on Star Wars Day. We're going to do some streams later in the evening, some gaming streams and some unboxings and stuff like that. But I want to get to this news video real quick here because there's some information in there regarding Star Wars movies. Last month, Lucasfilm revealed the future of a galaxy far, far away at the Star Wars Celebration in London. Now, President and Executive Producer Kathleen Kennedy has discussed Lucasfilm's current release strategy for their film slate. In an interview with Empire magazine, Kathleen Kennedy confirmed plans to eventize each Star Wars. So what does that mean? Well, yearly releases are no longer a thing, and Kathleen Kennedy credited the James Bond franchise as an inspiration behind this model. Why? Well, the plan will hopefully take off pressure from the studio and ensure the quality of the upcoming movies. I've often brought up Bond, Kennedy said. That's every 3 or 4 years, and there wasn't this pressure to feel like you had to have a movie every year. I feel that was very important to Star Wars. We have to eventize this. It's much better to tell the truth that we're going to make these movies when they're ready to be made, and release them when they're ready to be released. I've often brought up Bond. That's every 3 or 4 years, and there wasn't this pressure to feel like you had to have a movie every year. So, literally, George Lucas. Why do you have to bring up James Bond? Why can't you just be like, well, why don't we go back to what George Lucas used to do, who created Star Wars, and release movies every 3 or so years?
So, what is actually happening? So, I don't know why she, referenced, the Bond series. You could have literally just, like he said, just reference George Lucas. We're going to go back to what George did. We feel it's better.
1977, A New Hope. 1980, The Empire Strikes Back. 1983, Return of the Jedi. 1999, The Phantom Menace. 2002, Attack of the Clones. And Revenge of the Sith in 2005.
Yeah, that's about every 3 years.
That's one movie every 3 years, which is exactly what she's talking about. I don't understand. It's like she just completely forgets that George exists and doesn't even want to mention anything to do. I really don't understand, bro. How can this person be running Lucasfilm, man? I've often brought up Bond. That's every 3 or 4 years. And yes, I'm nitpicking, but it's just such an insult at this point. I think the whole model is off. You don't need to be making Star Wars movies every 3 years for them to be good. You just need to make good Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
You just need to make good Star Wars products. It's that simple. I don't think Star Wars fatigue exists or will ever exist. I think the issue...
Oh, no. It exists. I'm tired of these dog shit Star Wars movies coming out, dude. It's so horrible. Bro, I watched, what was it? Star Wars Visions 2. I started watching each episode, and I was every one of them was targeted to very young kids, 5, 6, 7, 8. Whereas I was able to watch the Star Wars Visions 1 episodes, but I knew they were targeted to I don't know, kids or teenagers or whatever, where it's the Visions 2 was just so younger. I watched I watched the first episode, and then I skipped through the second episode, and then I went back, and then I looked at the next episodes, and I was like, this is all for extremely young kids. I'm not going to be interested in any of this, and I'm a Star Wars fan. I was like, I don't care about any of this. Oh my god, I was so disappointed. I wanted to see another black and white anime style fucking Star Wars thing or whatever. That was so cool. But no, I was down for that, each little short story with a different style or whatever, but I zoomed out and I looked at just the thumbnails, and I'm so disinterested. Maybe I wasn't the target audience to begin with. Maybe that's the case, and I'm just shit out of luck. But why was I able to be captured in Visions 1, but not captured in Visions 2? Why was that?
is we have a Star Wars famine where people aren't getting enough Star Wars, and so they're becoming disassociated with it. And the Star Wars that we do get really isn't the Star Wars that we are used to and we're brought up with.
Yeah.
And that's because...
Well, especially since all of the Star Wars Legends books and the like all have been like decanonized, or whatever that word is, redacted or whatever. Like, it's not canon anymore, but those books still exist. For the, you know, those Star Wars fans that liked reading the books, it's not canon anymore.
Because of Kathleen Kennedy's inability to really comprehend what Star Wars is and what it used to be under George. Case in point, she's bringing up Bond. Like, I love the James Bond movies just as much as anyone else. I grew up with them just like Star Wars. George was the one who created Star Wars, and he also had movies every 3 years or more. So I really fail to understand where her logic is. Now, I don't think...
Because it's not the 3 to 4 years movie release thing. It's all these other things that she's not saying. A lot of communication is based on the things that she's not saying. So her not referencing George Lucas and his movie release of 3 years is saying something.
Necessarily the issue is releasing movies too soon, close to each other. I think the issue more so is creating a good product. So if we had, let's say, 5 great movies, they could release those all, you know, every year. Look at Marvel, for example. They had a great run with Thanos, and that's because they were building up a really great story with the Russo bros and Kevin Feige. They were working really well together. And I think the issue here isn't necessarily the time slot of releasing these movies, but rather creating a good team that works synergistically, and a team who has done their Star Wars homework. And
a team that's done their homework. It's like, because as it is right now for me, I am just so taken aback out of Star Wars, you know? It's like I boot up Disney Plus, or I look at like what's coming out or whatever, and it feels like, to me, Star Wars feels like Call of Duty currently. There's been a new Call of Duty every year, and each one is more and more dog shit than the last. That's what Star Wars to me feels like right now. As someone that, you know, I've seen all the original 3. I've seen most Star Wars like content, you know. I've seen most of it. I've seen all the movies. I've seen most of the shows, you know, save a couple of the ones that... I even watched, like, Mandalorian. I watched fucking, what do you call it? The Boba Fett thing. But it's like, all of those were just so horrible. Oh my God. It's like... like, each year is like, how am I going to be disappointed? What new character could they, like, just destroy now? What did I used to like that they're gonna take advantage of, and they're just gonna just nuke, just totally destroy them?
And understand Star Wars. And instead of focusing on agendas and things like that, they can focus on the story and writing the story and continuing the story of George Lucas instead of making some of their new stuff, which really has just taken the spotlight away from the original characters that we grew up with, that George created, and putting it on the new ones that they have by putting down the old guys. Boba Fett to Mandalorian, Obi-Wan with Reva and all that crap in there, Luke to Rey, and so on and so forth. I think there's a lot that can be done with Star Wars, and I just don't think it's being handled appropriately by Kathleen Kennedy. There are some good Star Wars projects that were created under Disney's timeline, of course, like Rogue One was great, The Mandalorian, but I think a lot of those...
Mandalorian season 1 and 2, not 3.
Perhaps had to do with the team that was assembled and Kathleen keeping her nose as much as she can out of things, right? Like Rogue One, for example, had George on set quite a few times. The Mandalorian, George was on set quite a few times. And it was, you know, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau who are very respectful of George.
I mean, and even with that, George can't change the projection of a movie with just him being there on like a shooting day, one single day, or even if it's a couple days or whatever, you know? I mean, I don't know exactly how long like they shoot for, to like get all the film they need and whatnot. But like, if it's like what, 3 months, 4 months, how many days is George gonna be there? Like, maybe a week on like maybe once a week for like a month or something, and then he just dips out because he's like, oh, okay, you guys are doing good, carry on. How much is that actually gonna change?
And listen to a lot of what he has to say. So I think, personally, the issue isn't releasing Star Wars movies every year. I think they would make bank if they did that. It's just
if they would make good movies every year.
About hiring the right team of writers and keeping the noses of the executive board people who think they know everything out of the scripts and let the creatives do their thing and be creative. The key here is hire the right team. No more agenda crap. Just keep it about Star Wars.
Yeah, keep your agendas and your self-inserts and whatever social issues out of my fantasy space movie. All right? It's a fantasy space movie with space samurai, with space wizards that shoot lightning and move shit. All right? I don't want to be reminded how bad like horse racing is or whatever. Or gambling. Like, I don't care about that. I just want to see Star Wars. Let me see Star Wars.
And keep the story alive. That's it. I don't think that there's some sort of like excitement that, every 3 years people are going to be like, oh my God, a Star Wars movie. Yeah, sure. But you know what? We could have that every year as well. Case in point, Rogue One and The Last Jedi. They were a year apart and they both did phenomenally well. Rogue One because it was a good movie, The Last Jedi because it was the continuation of the next sequel film.
Yeah.
And because the marketing for The Last Jedi was still to this day, I think, better than any other Star Wars project to date. Yeah. There was so much hype around that film. It was unbelievable. I remember you could just like feel it in the air.
I think I remember seeing that movie in the theaters and I was like excited. I came out of it like kind of excited, I thought it was like decent when like the initial seeing of it, you do that temporary suspension of disbelief thing and you just like, you're engulfed in the sound, engulfed in the movie experience and whatnot. And I thought it was fine.
Yeah. And this, is partially due to Luke Skywalker having like the 2-second cameo he had in The Force Awakens, where we're expecting him to go all out and, really see Luke finally in episode 8. And boy, did we see somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
These are my thoughts on...
We saw an old man sucking on some animal titties where the blue milk comes from.
Kathleen Kennedy and the Star Wars release dates going forwards for movies, as well as her odd correlation between the Bond films and what they should be doing when George was doing it literally all along for Star Wars, which is what we're creating here. Anyhow, let me know what you guys think. I love you all. Happy May the 4th. I'll catch you in the next video.
Good stuff, my dude. All right? Make some good Star Wars movies. For Christ's sake, man. I'm tired of being disinterested of this genre, this, franchise that I used to like, It's like what was the most recent game that just came out? Like Jedi Survivor? Like that game was like, that was a good game. It was fun. Oh, man. Like when it comes to like telling a new story over using the medium of a movie or a TV show, it's streamed or whatever, they just cannot help themselves but to just flop and do political issues, self-insert, social issues. It's like, I don't want to see that in Star Wars. I don't care. I want to watch lightsabers, lightning, and laser guns. Oh my gosh, is that so hard? Oh my god. Okay, I'm too like heated. Whatever. Good video, man. Good stuff. Big true. All right. Peace out.